Hi, this is Kelly. Welcome to my channel. Today we are doing witch hats. Witch hat number 1 is a traditional black hat. And you've heard of papier-mâché. Well, today we're doing fabric-mâché. I've got some fabric here. I end up using only the black. Some sports cones from the toy department at Dollar General. And that wood round from Dollar Tree. I actually use that as a template to cut out a sturdy piece of cardboard, which that's what's under that aluminum foil. And then I attach the cone in the center with double-sided tape. So first we're going to take some more foil, attach it to the top of the cone, and form the tip of the hat. And you just put it on and keep twisting and make a point. And to start with, we're going to tape the foil to the cone just to hold it in place. And then once we get down to that part, we're going to remove the tape. We don't want it to stay on that cone. It will come off that cone later. So I've got this fabric. It's kind of a nylon sheer black. It's very pretty. And I have torn it into strips. And what we're going to do is we're going to dip it in our glue and water mixture. That is just 50-50 Elmer's glue and water. That's all that is. And we saturate it, wring it out. And then this is, once you get this started, it's easier. It's kind of a fight there. Plus the gloves were kicking my butt a little bit, you know. So anyway, once we get the tip covered, we just want to keep wrapping it. And as we wrap it, I don't know if you can see, you kind of want to fold it over itself a little bit, create folds as you go. And here I'm going to go ahead and put a second layer on here, because the tip is a little skinny compared to the rest, and you want to make sure you cover that foil, because the foil does stay inside there. And we just keep coming down, take your time, and you want to make sure it overlaps itself so that the glue sticks. And there you see that foil was still exposed, so I come back with another piece. And it's not a bad idea to do a couple layers anyway. It'll be more durable that way. And we're going to do this in stages and let it dry overnight for each stage. So you see I'm spreading it out, wrapping it around. Yeah, the gloves, I end up using just one glove later because it was making it hard. They're too big, just sticking off the end of my fingers, and it was messing me up. So, yeah, that's stuck in the wrong spot. Just pick it up, bring it up, and overlap, and keep going. So now, the first portion is done and dry, and I remove the tape, attaching it to that cone, see? And there's your tip. And I have the foil on the cardboard to protect it from that wet glue. If that glue is constantly dripping on that cardboard, it's going to make it all soggy and warped, and so you don't want that. So now we're taking some more foil and wrapping it. It's underneath where the fabric is already attached, but it's overlapping that foil. And we're just going to tape the foil together. And make sure it's not taped to the cone again. You want to be able to lift it off the cone here eventually. Now you can wrap the entire cone in foil and do this in one sitting if you like. That's entirely up to you. But whatever you do, wherever you stop, let it dry overnight. And I'm going to give you a little tip. I made a mistake. I went back and fixed it. It turned out to be no big deal. But if you do let it dry in stages, don't grab what's already dry with your glue covered hand. I was doing that to kind of pick it up and spin it around, and it left a film of glue. I assumed it would just dry and go away. It didn't. It left kind of a film on the outside because I kept doing it over and over again. And I just went back and put another layer of fabric over top that area, and it was perfectly fine. But so yeah, don't do that. Spin it from the bottom. Do whatever you got to do, but yeah, don't put a hand or glove covered with glue. See, I keep doing it. But yeah, I went back and fixed it later. So no harm done, but just a little tip there. So now that we've gotten down to the bottom, we want to continue to overlap it onto the existing fabric, of course, but we're creating a little shelf on the bottom where it's going to be flat to sit, to, you know, to come out onto the rim, if that makes any sense. But it's pretty easy, and then you can kind of see where I am folding it, but you see all that glue I'm globbing up on top, where it's, yeah, that's what I end up having to fix. So don't do that. If you're grabbing it where it's still wet, that's fine, but try not to grab it too much regardless. I would guess, I don't know, I've never done this before now, and so I was learning as I went. So look at that, you see the folds in it, and you see how it comes down to start forming the rim. So now we pull it off. Look at that, it's dry. What I've done so far is dry, and it's just turned out amazing. So now I'm going to carefully peel the foil away from the fabric on the bottom. We want that foil to stay in there though, so we just want to, it peels right off. Just take your time, slow and steady wins the race, and you just want to get it free from that bottom area there. And now we're going to stuff the foil with some cotton balls. You can use tissue paper or polyfill. You can use plastic grocery bags. Doesn't matter. You know, an old t-shirt, whatever. So you stuff that, and then I fold up the foil to hold all that stuffing in, and that gives you a little structure underneath. Look at that. Isn't that cool? Do yourself a favor and bend that tip over before you start if you want to bend it, but don't bend it too far. You want to be able to get the fabric around it. So now I'm going to take my cardboard round and paint it black on both sides, and I'm going to paint a layer of Mod Podge around the outside of what's going to be the top, and then I'm going to Mod Podge a piece of, this is Dollar Tree, this black fabric is just Dollar Tree. Mod Podge that to the bottom and just trim it really well around the edge. And that Mod Podge is just going to protect the cardboard a little bit while you're finishing up your wet glue. So we're just going to hot glue the cone to the base. Make sure you have it centered first, obviously. Let's go on around. And then here's another tip. I'd never done this before this video, so I was learning as I went along. Do the outside edge of the rim first. It'll make your life easier in the long run, but it works out fine. But after I got to the edge, I was like, oh damn, I should have done the outside edge first. But even if you do the outside edge first, go back to the cone and start at the base of the cone and come out, and then you can just come on over the edge over top. So here it's all done. Look at the folds in the, oh my goodness, I was just so thrilled how that turned out. So what I'm doing is just this, it's the same thing except it's hanging off the edge. You know, I'm doing the exact same thing but let it hang off the edge. And then you want to just fold that under, and that fabric's on the bottom. First of all, it looks better than just cardboard showing, but it also makes that glue grip, the fabric glue to itself very nicely. And there was only a couple spots later. If there's any spots that don't really glue down, just hit it with your hot glue gun or some tacky glue. But it's not going to go anywhere. This fabric turns pretty stiff. It's my only concern is like, oh god, this is going to be a dust collector with all those folds in it. Oh well, it's pretty. So yeah, we're just going around the bottom, pressing it down, and then you can put a little extra glue on your fingers and dab on there if it's not sticking. And there it is. Now we're still gonna do a bow and a rim, but not yet. You'll have to wait. This hat's done. So witch hat number 2, I call this the All-American Witch. This is a more casual witch, and we're not doing the fabric-mâché. We're just doing blue jeans cut into strips and hot glue. So what's more American than blue jeans and bandanas? So you'll see where the bandanas come in. You'll have to wait. So we're just taking our hot glue, and I did the exact same thing. I didn't attach it to the round, cardboard round for this one. And I was thinking maybe it'd been easier if I hadn't attached it to that from the beginning, but that created something to catch all that glue. You got to put it aside to dry, and that glue's dripping because it will drip. Then it's nice to have something underneath. So you cover that with foil and let it drip. Wipe off the excess before you put it away to dry. But so basically, we just make sure we get that tip covered up. I started wrapping it, and I ended up putting that little extra piece in there, and glue the fabric to the fabric and to the foil, because again, it's going to be just like the other hat. The foil is going to stay inside. And with this one, hindsight, take the foil all the way down to the bottom of the cone. So I did the same thing where I taped it there. And you can just continue this in one sitting or not. You don't have to let this sit and dry. It's hot glue. It dries in a couple minutes. But yeah, do the foil all the way down, and then you can just tape it to the bottom so it's not moving around on you. And this one, I folded the tip over first. And we're just going to keep gluing and keep going around. And we're not worried about adding folds. We just want those frayed edges to stay. We want this to look like an old pair of blue jeans. So this is a pair of my husband's. It was ripped where the pocket attached. There was a big rip in the butt, so I cut them up. And jeans, especially older ones, they tear into strips very easily, because you want to tear it, not cut it. You want that nice frayed edge, and it tears almost perfectly straight. Turned out really nice. So here I'm adding the rest of my foil. Again, do the foil all the way down the first time. It'd be easier, but I removed the top piece, and I'm just taping the foil to the foil. You don't want to tape it back to the cone again. And we make sure that the top piece foil overlaps this bottom half of the foil. But again, if you foil it all the way down, you don't have to worry about that. You just keep on getting it. And we're just mashing it, pressing it up against the cone, and we just keep on going around. I didn't know what I saw those cones in Dollar General, and I was like, now see, I'm going to take the you see how I take the fabric, I do another layer and kind of go in another direction instead of it just going straight around it. It was like, well, that looks kind of boring, so I went back up in the other direction. And you can do any kind of pattern you want. You can do these strips are only about 1 inch wide. You can do wider strips. You can do it however you want, because when I do the rim, I do that with wider strips. You can do the whole thing that way. That's a matter of preference. But yeah, just straight down with the same size strip the whole way down, it got boring. So I'm like, yeah, let's go in the other direction. Alright, so our cone is done. And now we're going to unwrap the foil from the bottom of the cone, pull it off, stuff it with cotton balls, push it up inside. Same thing. So now I am gluing a strip to the bottom to where it's just, there's some excess hanging off the bottom, and then we're going to glue that to the rim like we did the other one. Make sure all the foil's covered, go around. If there's any showing, you can just layer another piece over top. So you see how I've got that piece. Okay, so here we've got our cardboard, and I didn't worry about painting this. And then you can just put some, I didn't even do the bottom on this one. Yeah, you could put a piece of felt. You can do, if you have a big section of the jeans, do the bottomless. Hey dudes shoebox is what I used for this one. It worked just fine. And so you see, I got smart and did the outside edge first on this one. See. And I'm just gluing it on the top, and a little glue on the edge here and there, and just try to make sure you pull it taut so that it's not all bumpy and grumpy. Just went all the way around the edge, because yeah, that denim you can't see through that. And also, while you're using the hot glue, it's thick enough it protects your fingers. You couldn't even feel the heat through it. It was wonderful. So now we got to make sure we find our center and glue that bottom piece down. Yeah, make sure it's centered. Get your ruler and measure whatever you got to do. Because I had that denim around the outside, and it didn't look centered because some of it was wider than the other. So here I've got the wider strips, and I just kind of lay it across there, and then do the opposite sides in the opposite direction. Is all I end up doing for the bottom. But yeah, you can do the whole hat in those wider strips, and you can have this done. You can have this done really quick. Really quick, and this is a lot of fun. But you can use any fabric. The black fabric I think I mentioned it was from Dollar Tree that I put on the rim. I ran out of that nylon, so I did the rim in the with the Dollar Tree black, and it tears in the strips so nicely, and you couldn't tell. I figured if there was a little bit of difference between the cone and the rim, it wouldn't matter, but you couldn't tell at all. So you can go to Dollar Tree. There's all kind. You can do any kind of fabric you want. And you could even do, I did fabric-mâché on the first one. You could do paper-mâché. You could do strips of newspaper and paint it. You could do whatever you want. It's a lot of fun. So I'm just going to glue this strip down forever, I guess. I guess you didn't have to watch me glue one strip down all day, but I should have edited a little bit more out, but that's okay. What are you going to do? Then I'm making sure I'm getting it on that edge as well as the bottom. Fold it on over. But yeah, you can just cut out a circular piece of scrap or fabric or a piece of felt, whatever, and cover up that cardboard. But it's just sitting in my house, and if someone might pick it up. If somebody tries to pick it up and tries to wear it, they're going to get smacked and kicked out of the house anyway. What are you doing? It's a decoration, not an actual hat. And you could make it full size if you wanted to. It's a little smaller than what the actual size where you could wear it would be. But so I got done doing that, and now I'm putting one more strip of the skinny strip around the bottom, just to give it a little more finished look there. Oh, my chair's creaking. It drives me nuts. You hear all these creaks in my videos. And short of the bow, this one is done. Isn't that cute? So I'm going to show you how to make the bow for this one. And for the black hat, it's different ribbon. Well, this is bandanas, you'll see. And for the black hat, it's different ribbons I use, but it's the same procedure. So I've got red and black bandanas torn into strips. They're maybe 1.5 to 2 inches wide. I didn't measure them. They're not all exactly the same. And we're taking each piece, because it's only so long, folding it in half, or I put it in there and then fold it in half. And I'm like, duh. Fold it in half first and just lay it in there. It's easier. And my little homemade bow maker. And that's just a little Halloween sign with 2 dowel rods sticking out of it. Had my husband drill 2 holes in it and glue them in there. It works perfectly. But this definitely helps. And if you're bow challenged, this is so easy. And I'm bow challenged. I do wreaths, and the bow, I dread the bow. And it's funny because most of the time they come out great, but I stress about them, and I don't know what it is. Me and bows, man. So this is so much easier. So much easier. So So I did the red on the bottom and then the black next, because the black bandana was a little bit shorter. The strips were a little bit shorter. So if you have longer ribbon, you always want that in the back. Or you can, and you know, even if they are different lengths, I guess it really doesn't matter. You can alternate the red and black if you want, rather than do the red. Look, you know, I think I did 4 pieces of the red. But yeah, you just keep crisscrossing them. You want them to kind of go in different directions from each other. And again, like I always do, I forgot to put this is the edge of the black bandana, and I thought, well, that would be a great piece of twine to tie this together. So put that in the bottom first. It makes your life easier. Oh my goodness. So yeah, I think I put 4 red pieces. And then I guess 4 black pieces. What you can do all red, you can do anything you want. Doesn't have to be bandanas. And it turns out so cute. All American Witch. I was just in love with that black hat when I did this. Once I did this one, I was like, oh my god, I don't know which one I like better. They're just so totally different, but I just love them both. So much fun. So now we got 4 pieces of the black, and we're gonna add some of the denim strips to our bow as well. And these are long, so again, it might be easier to cut them in half and do the fold in half first if you want. And then plus you can, if you do it that way, the good side's always showing if one side doesn't look as good as the other. So now I'm sitting here kind of fighting with it, and it's going in different directions. So it would be better probably to cut these strips in half. You know, your strips might be different lengths than mine. You know, nothing's measured or anything like that. But it would be easier to cut these a little shorter, cut them the same length as the bandanas, fold them in half and lay them in there. Now this blue thread, that is the excess thread from the blue jeans. I thought it was just so cool looking, and a lot of times I'll use some Excelsior in the middle of my bows. I thought I'll use that instead of the Excelsior, and it just turned out so cute. And then you trim your tails, you cut them at an angle or not. And then what I did is, once I trimmed them, I just took my thumbnail and scraped it and got that edge frayed. So it was frayed just like the sides. And I take a piece of red bandana, make the band, and I hot glue that. And I hot glue that where it's going to be under the bow. You don't want to put hot glue around that because it will seep through that thin material and it'll show. So I only glued it in the front there. And then our bow is glued over top of it so you don't see that. And look at this. Look at I just love it. So totally different. I mean, I've never seen anything like that before. I just love it. And here they are. The bow for the black hat, I did the same exact procedure. I used some chiffon ribbon and some torn fabric strips, some Excelsior, and that little spider, he's not glued on, that would just make a mess. You just stick him in there, he's gonna stay. And here's my All-American Witch. I want to thank you for being here. Give me a like and consider subscribing. It would really help me out. I'm just starting out here. Let me know in the comments which one is your favorite. Have a great one. Bye.